My own family erased me from my sister's wedding like I never existed, all because I refused to pretend her fiancé wasn't who I knew he really was. 3 months later, a single 15-second video clip exploded across the internet, showing him doing something so shocking at the rehearsal dinner that strangers were calling for the wedding to be canceled. But here's what nobody knows. Would exposing the truth earlier have saved my family from what happened next, or was I the one who destroyed everything by staying silent too long? I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. I learned my sister Vanessa was getting married the same way most people did, through a Facebook announcement with professional engagement photos shot at some vineyard in Napa Valley. We lived in the same city, Portland, Oregon. Our parents' house was 12 minutes from my apartment, but Vanessa chose to tell the world before telling me. The photos showed her and Marcus Donnelly looking like something from a luxury magazine spread, all golden hour lighting and designer casual wear. 247 likes in the first hour. My mom commented with crying happy face emojis. My dad wrote, "Welcome to the family, son," with a handshake emoji. My younger brother Tyler shared it with the caption, "Finally getting a brother." I stared at that post for 20 minutes in my car outside the elementary school where I taught 4th grade. The afternoon pickup line snaked around me while I tried to process what I was seeing, not the engagement itself, that had been coming for months. Marcus had been part of family dinners since last spring, always sitting in what used to be my spot at the table, always laughing at my dad's jokes in that too loud way that felt calculated. What hollowed me out was the deliberateness of being excluded from knowing first. In our family, that meant something. When Tyler got accepted to University of Washington, he called me before he even told our parents because I had helped him with his application essay. When Dad had his heart scare 2 years ago, Mom phoned me from the hospital parking lot before they even went inside. We were the Robinsons family. We told each other things. Until we weren't. Until I wasn't. The shift had started 4 months earlier at our parents' 4th of July barbecue. Marcus had been dating Vanessa for maybe 6 weeks at that point. He showed up in pressed khakis and a polo shirt that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget, carrying expensive wine nobody asked him to bring. My dad grilled burgers. Tyler and I played cornhole in the yard like we had since we were kids. Vanessa stayed glued to Marcus's side, translating our family's casual chaos for him like he was visiting from another planet. I noticed how he watched my mom. Not in any creepy way, but with this intense focus whenever she moved around the kitchen or talked to guests. He studied her gestures, her tone, the way she commanded the flow of the party without seeming to command anything. My mom had that gift, making 30 people feel comfortable in a crowded backyard, remembering everyone's dietary restrictions and kids' names and whether they preferred beer or wine. After dinner, we gathered in the living room for our traditional family game night. We played Pictionary, teams of 2, competitive but silly. Marcus partnered with Vanessa. I partnered with Tyler. My parents formed the 3rd team. The game went fine until my mom's turn to draw. She got the word cooperation and started sketching stick figures working together on something. Marcus shouted out guessed, rapid fire, leaning forward in his chair, laser focused on winning. When time ran out and my mom didn't get it, he made this small noise, almost a scoff. "That was totally drawable," he said, his smile tight. "You just needed to show the hands connecting better." The room went quiet for maybe 3 seconds. My mom laughed it off with her usual grace. Dad changed the subject. But I saw something flicker across Marcus's face when he realized his comment had landed wrong. A flash of calculation followed by an immediate pivot to charm. He apologized smoothly, made a self-deprecating joke about being too competitive, and won everyone back, everyone except me. I started watching him differently after that. The way he touched Vanessa's lower back to steer her through doorways, how he answered questions directed at her if he thought her response might not reflect well. The subtle corrections he'd make to her stories when she told them at dinners, small factual amendments that repositioned him as the hero or the clever one. Vanessa seemed happy, though. She glowed around him. She wore nicer clothes, got her hair done more often, posted constantly about their date nights to trendy restaurants and weekend trips to Seattle. Marcus worked in commercial real estate, something lucrative that I never fully understood, But that impressed my parents. He talked about investment properties and market trends with my dad. He complimented my mom's cooking extravagantly. He asked Tyler about football with what seemed like genuine interest. I was the problem, apparently. The skeptical older sister who couldn't just be happy for Vanessa. 3 weeks after the 4th of July barbecue, I took Vanessa to lunch at our usual spot, a Thai place near her work downtown. I planned to be careful, to express concern without accusation. I made it in maybe 4 minutes. I think Marcus has some control issues, I said after we ordered. Vanessa set down her water glass slowly. Excuse me? The way he talks to you sometimes, the way he corrects you or speaks for you, it just seems like what, Eliana? Like he cares about me? Like he's involved in my life? Like he needs to manage how you come across to other people. Her face flushed. You've met him maybe 6 times. I've been with him for almost 3 months. You think you know him better than I do? I think I'm seeing things you might not see because you're in it. No, you're inventing things because you can't stand that I'm happy. You've always been like this. Remember when I got the promotion at work and you immediately started asking if I was sure I could handle the extra responsibility? Remember when I bought my condo and you spent an hour listing everything that could go wrong? I sat back, stung. I was trying to help you think things through. You were trying to poke holes in my happiness because you're miserable. That word, miserable, hung between us like smoke. I wasn't miserable. I had a job I loved, friends, a decent apartment, hobbies. I didn't have a serious relationship, true, but I wasn't some bitter spinster plotting against my sister's romance. I'm worried about you, I said quietly. That's all this is. Then stop. I don't need you to worry. I need you to be happy for me. We finished lunch in near silence. Vanessa paid for both of us, which felt like some kind of power move, and hugged me goodbye with the stiff formality usually reserved for distant aunts at funerals. I thought maybe things would cool down, that we'd move past it. Instead, Vanessa stopped responding to my texts. Family dinners became tense. My mom started making comments about being supportive and keeping opinions to ourselves. Dad suggested I apologize to Vanessa for upsetting her. Apologize for what? I asked. For caring whether she's making a good choice? For not trusting her judgment, Dad said. She's 28 years old, Ellie. She can decide who she wants to marry. So he proposed? Dad's face told me he'd said more than intended. That's for Vanessa to tell you, if she wants to. She didn't want to, hence the Facebook announcement 2 months later. I sat in my car. Outside the school, students streaming past toward waiting parents, and I made a choice. I would go to the wedding. I would be civil. I would watch my sister marry someone I didn't trust, and I would keep my mouth shut because that's what families do. We show up, we smile, we don't make scenes. I called my mom that evening. I saw Vanessa's announcement. Congratulations. Oh, honey. Relief flooded her voice. I'm so glad you called. We wanted to tell you in person, but things have been so complicated. When's the wedding? April 22nd. Spring wedding at the Holloway Estate? You know that beautiful venue overlooking the river? Marcus's parents are helping with costs. It's going to be lovely. I'd like to help however I can. Mom hesitated. That's sweet of you. Let me talk to Vanessa about bridesmaid stuff. I know she's been planning with her friends from work. Translation. You're not at the wedding party. Message received. Just let me know what I can do, I said. 2 weeks passed. I heard nothing. I texted Vanessa directly, congratulating her, offering to help with planning. She responded with a thumbs-up emoji. That was it. A thumbs-up emoji to her only sister's offer to help plan her wedding. Then one Tuesday in late January, my mom called while I was grading spelling tests. Ellie, we need to talk about the wedding. The tone made my stomach drop. Okay. Vanessa's been very stressed with planning, and Marcus feels like your presence might create tension on their special day. I stopped grading. Marcus feels. They both feel. Mom corrected quickly. They want their wedding to be drama-free and joyful, and given the conflict from last summer, I expressed concern about him. Once. Months ago. You told Vanessa her fiancé has control issues. You can see how that might make them uncomfortable having you there. So I'm uninvited. To my own sister's wedding. Not uninvited exactly, just They're asking you to respect their wishes and maybe sit this one out. For the sake of family harmony. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. The absurdity of that phrase, family harmony, achieved by excluding family. Does Dad agree with this? Your father supports Vanessa's happiness. What about my relationship with Vanessa? Does anyone care about that? Of course we do, honey. But right now, Vanessa needs to focus on starting her marriage in a positive way. Maybe after the wedding, once things settle down, you two can work on rebuilding. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone away. Instead, I said, very calmly, so I'm supposed to just accept that I've been erased from my sister's biggest life event because her fiancé doesn't like that I saw through him? Eliana, that's not fair. Tell Vanessa I hope she has a beautiful wedding. I won't be the one to ruin it by existing nearby. I hung up. I sat at my desk surrounded by misspelled words from 9-year-olds, and I tried to figure out when my family had stopped being my family. The answer came 3 months later, in the form of a 15-second video clip that would make Marcus Donnelly briefly infamous and prove that sometimes the worst thing about being right is knowing you saw it coming. The weeks leading up to Vanessa's wedding existed in a strange parallel universe where my family carried on as if nothing unusual was happening. Tyler posted Instagram stories from the bachelor party, a weekend trip to Las Vegas with Marcus and his groomsmen. My mom shared updates about flower arrangements and seating charts in the family group chat that I was apparently still part of, though nobody ever responded to anything I wrote. I tried once, commenting on a photo of cake samples with, "The lemon one looks amazing." 3 people saw the message. Nobody reacted. The conversation continued around my words like water flowing past a stone. My classroom became my sanctuary. 23 fourth graders who didn't know about family drama or wedding exclusions or the specific pain of being erased by people who were supposed to love you unconditionally. We studied the Oregon Trail. We built volcano models. We read Bridge to Terabithia, and half my class cried, which somehow made me feel better about the world. One of my students, a girl named Zoe with braids and gap-toothed confidence, asked me during indoor recess why I seemed sad lately. "I'm not sad," I said automatically. "Yes, you are. You smile differently now, like you're remembering you're supposed to." 9 years old, and she saw right through me. I told her I was dealing with some family stuff, nothing she needed to worry about. She patted my hand with the solemnity of someone 3 times her age and said, "Families are hard. My mom says that's because we can't pick them like we pick friends." Out of the mouths of 4th graders, I made it through March by throwing myself into work. I volunteered to lead the spring musical, supervise the science fair, chaperone the field trip to the aquarium. Anything to fill the hours that might otherwise be spent thinking about April 22nd circled on my calendar like a wound. My best friend Rachel, who taught 3rd grade down the hall, finally confronted me in the faculty lounge during our planning period. "You're doing that thing where you work yourself into exhaustion to avoid feeling feelings? I'm being productive. You're being avoidant. When's the last time you went home before 6? When's the last time you did something fun on a weekend?" I couldn't remember. Rachel knew it. "The wedding's in 3 weeks," she said gently. "What's your plan for that day?" "I don't have one. Maybe I'll drive to the coast. Take a long walk on the beach. Very eat, pray, love. Or you could crash the wedding." I looked at her. "That's insane." "Is it? You're her sister. You have every right to be there." Except I was explicitly told not to come. By a controlling fiancé who successfully isolated your sister from anyone who might question him. Classic abuser playbook, Ellie. The word abuser hung heavy between us. I'd thought it, quietly, in the back of my mind. But hearing Rachel say it out loud made it real and terrifying. I don't know that he's abusive. Maybe he's just an asshole. Is there a difference? One implies danger. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm projecting my own issues onto their relationship and Marcus is actually fine and I'm the problem everyone says I am? Rachel squeezed my hand. What if you're right, and nobody listens until it's too late? I went home that night to my small apartment with its thrift store furniture and walls covered in student artwork, and I let myself imagine crashing the wedding. Walking down the aisle during the "speak now or forever hold your peace" moment, standing up with evidence, with examples, with the truth about Marcus Donnelly's need to control and diminish. Then I imagined my mother's face, my father's disappointment, Vanessa's hatred, Tyler's embarrassment. The entire wedding party was staring at me like I was the villain in a movie. I deleted the fantasy and made dinner instead. April crept closer. The family group chat filled with final details. The rehearsal dinner would be Friday night at Castellano's, an upscale Italian place downtown. The ceremony started at 4 on Saturday. Cocktail hour at 5:30. Reception to follow. Guest count: 192 people. 192 people. But not me. I requested a personal day from my principal for Friday, citing a family commitment. It wasn't technically a lie. I had a commitment to stay away from my family. That counted. Thursday night, the night before the rehearsal dinner I wasn't invited to, Tyler called me. My younger brother and I had always been close despite the 4-year age gap. He was the fun one, the athlete, the kid who made friends easily and never overthought anything, where Vanessa and I inherited our mother's tendency toward anxiety and perfectionism. Tyler got Dad's easy confidence and ability to laugh things off. "Hey," he said when I answered. "Are you doing okay?" "I'm fine. Shouldn't you be at some pre-wedding thing?" "Nah, that's tomorrow. Listen, I just wanted to say this whole situation is messed up. I tried talking to Vanessa about it. She won't budge." Something warm loosened in my chest. Someone acknowledged the insanity. "I appreciate you trying. Marcus has her completely convinced you're trying to sabotage their relationship. He's very good at that, making everything sound reasonable from his perspective. But I see it, Ellie. The way he manages her. The way he's slowly cutting off anyone who might question him." "Then why isn't anyone else saying anything?" Tyler sighed. "Because Vanessa seems happy. Because Marcus is successful and charming and he hasn't done anything obviously wrong. Because it's easier to blame you for being negative than to consider that maybe you're seeing something real. Are you going to the rehearsal dinner tomorrow?" "Yeah. I'm a groomsman, remember? Take a video of the toasts or something." "I just want to see her happy, even if I can't be there." "Ellie, I'm serious. If she's genuinely happy, if I'm wrong about everything, I need to see it so I can let this go and move on." "Okay," Tyler said quietly. "I'll send you something." We talked for another 20 minutes about nothing important, and when we hung up I felt slightly less alone in the universe. Friday arrived bright and clear, the kind of perfect spring day that felt designed for weddings. I drove out to Cannon Beach, 2 hours on the coast, and walked along the sand with my phone turned off. Families played in tide pools, couples took selfies with Haystack Rock looming behind them. Dogs chased waves with the pure joy that comes from not understanding mortality or family dysfunction. I sat on a piece of driftwood and watched the ocean until the sun started setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that seemed almost offensive in their beauty. Then I drove back to Portland in the dark, stopped for Thai food takeout, and went home to my quiet apartment. My phone showed 3 missed calls from Rachel and a text. "You okay?" "Call me when you can." I texted back. "Survived. Watching Netflix and eating pad thai. Living the dream." She responded immediately. "Check your Instagram." Now. My stomach dropped. I opened Instagram with hands that suddenly didn't work right. My feed loaded slowly, painfully. Then I saw it. The video had been posted 11 minutes ago by someone named @JennaMartinezPDX, tagged at Castellano's restaurant. The caption read, "When you accidentally catch the worst moment at a rehearsal dinner, should I tell the bride? Number wedding drama, number rehearsal dinner, number yikes." The video was 15 seconds long. I pressed play. The footage was clearly filmed covertly. Phone held low at someone's side. Audio muffled. It showed the interior of Castellano's elegant lighting and formally dressed people. The camera panned across the room shakily, catching fragments of conversation and laughter. Then it focused on a man in a dark suit, talking to a woman in a cream-colored dress. My mother. She was gesturing animatedly, telling some story, and smiling. The man was Marcus. Whatever my mother said, Marcus didn't like it. His expression shifted, hardened. He said something back, words inaudible over the restaurant noise. My mother's smile faltered. She said something else, conciliatory. Marcus moved fast. His right hand came up and connected with my mother's face, an open-palmed slap that snapped her head sideways. The sound cut through every other noise in the restaurant. People nearby gasped. Someone screamed. The video ended. I watched it again, and again, and again. Each time, the same sequence. My mother is speaking, Marcus listening. The disagreement, the slap that seemed to happen, in slow motion and real time simultaneously. The video had been up for 11 minutes and already had 43,000 views. The comments section was exploding. Someone had tagged local news stations. Someone else had tagged the restaurant. My phone buzzed. Tyler calling. "Did you see it?" His voice shook. "I'm watching it right now. Ellie." Everything fell apart. People are losing their minds. Mom's crying. Dad looks like he wants to commit murder. Vanessa locked herself in the bathroom. Marcus left. Just walked out like nothing happened. "Where are you?" "Still at the restaurant. It's chaos." The manager comped everyone's meals and asked us to leave. Half the wedding party is saying the wedding should be canceled. The other half is trying to defend Marcus, saying it must have been an accident or something taken out of context. "Tyler, I watched the video. That wasn't an accident." "I know." He sounded like he might cry. "I know. You were right about him. You were right the whole time, and nobody listened." I sat on my couch holding my phone, watching the view count climb toward 50,000, and I felt something I didn't expect, not satisfied. Not vindication. Just a deep, crushing sadness that being right about Marcus Donnelly meant my mother had been hit in the face at her daughter's rehearsal dinner, filmed by a stranger, and turned into viral content for the entertainment of millions. By midnight, the video had 2 million views. I sat cross-legged on my living room floor, laptop open, phone in hand, watching my family's private catastrophe become a public spectacle. The video had jumped from Instagram to Twitter to TikTok to Facebook. News outlets picked it up. Groom slaps mother-in-law at rehearsal dinner trended on Twitter. Someone created a Reddit thread analyzing Marcus's body language frame by frame. The internet did what the internet does best. It gathered information. Within hours, strangers had identified Marcus Donnelly, found his LinkedIn profile, his company's website, his previous social media accounts, before he'd locked everything down. Someone dug up his college fraternity photos. Another person found a Yelp review from an ex-girlfriend that suddenly seemed relevant. Charming at first, controlling later. Run. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Rachel called 3 times. Other friends from college I hadn't spoken to in months suddenly wanted to check in. Former coworkers sent concerned messages. Everyone had seen the video. Everyone knew my mother was the woman in the cream dress. At 1:15 a.m., my father called. "Ellie?" His voice sounded 20 years older than it had a week ago. "We need you to come to the house." "What's happening with the wedding?" "Just come, please." I threw on jeans and drove across Portland in the dark, streets empty except for occasional late-night traffic. My parents lived in a craftsman-style house in Laurelhurst, a neighborhood of old trees and older money. Every window blazed with light when I pulled up at 1:45 in the morning. Tyler met me at the door. His eyes were red. He hugged me without speaking. Inside, the house hummed with tense energy. My mother sat at the kitchen table, still in her cream rehearsal dinner dress, a bag of frozen peas pressed against her left cheek. The skin around her eye had started to purple. My father stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, looking like he'd aged a decade since I'd seen him at Christmas. Vanessa wasn't visible. "Where is she?" I asked. "Upstairs," Mom said quietly. "She won't talk to anyone." "Marcus?" "Gone." Dad's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before. Left the restaurant, drove straight to his condo, packed a bag according to his doorman, and disappeared. Not answering calls, texts, nothing. I sat down across from my mother. Up close, the damage looked worse. The slap had caught her across the cheekbone and mouth. Her lower lip was slightly split. "Mom, I'm so sorry." She shook her head. Don't apologize. You tried to warn us." "What happened? What did you say to him?" Mom lowered the frozen peas. I was telling him about Vanessa's childhood, this story about when she was 7, and insisted on wearing her Halloween costume to church for 3 weeks straight. everyone thought it was adorable. I was laughing, remembering how stubborn she was even then. She paused, touching her lip gingerly. Marcus got this look on his face, cold. He said Vanessa had told him that story differently, that she'd been embarrassed by it, that I shouldn't be sharing family stories that make her look foolish. I told him it wasn't foolish, it was endearing, and besides, all parents share childhood stories at weddings. That's when he hit you, I said. He said I was undermining him in front of his family, that I needed to learn to respect his perspective as Vanessa's future husband. Then his hand just came up so fast. I didn't even have time to react. Dad's grip tightened on Mom's shoulder. 26 years we've been married. I've never raised my hand to her, never even thought about it. And this man, this stranger who's been in our lives less than a year, hits her in a room full of people like he has the right. The rage in my father's voice was cold and controlled, which somehow made it more frightening. Has Vanessa said anything? I asked. Tyler spoke up from where he leaned against the counter. She came out of the bathroom at the restaurant completely dissociated, like she was watching everything from far away. She let Marcus's parents apologize to Mom, let them promise he was under stress and would never do something like that normally. She nodded when they said the wedding should proceed as planned. They want to proceed? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. His mother spent an hour trying to convince everyone that Marcus has never been violent before, that something must have provoked him, that maybe Mom's story hit a nerve about something from his childhood. Tyler's disgust was palpable. She actually suggested Mom apologize to Marcus for upsetting him. That's insane. That's not even the worst part, Dad said. His father pulled me aside and implied that if we cancel the wedding over this, he'll sue us for the money they contributed to the venue and catering. Said we'd be breaking a verbal contract. I stared at him. He threatened to sue you? After his son assaulted Mom? Their position is that it wasn't assault. It was an unfortunate incident blown out of proportion by someone with a phone camera who violated their privacy. The absurdity of that argument, while a video with millions of views circulated globally, would have been funny if it wasn't so horrifying. What does Vanessa want? I asked. Nobody answered immediately. Then Mom said, very quietly, she wants the wedding to happen. The air left the room. She wants to marry him, Mom continued. After everything. After seeing him hit her mother. After watching that video spread across the internet. She's upstairs right now planning damage control with Marcus's sister. They're drafting a statement about how the video doesn't show the full context, and people shouldn't judge their relationship based on 15 seconds. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. I need to talk to her. Ellie, I don't think. Dad started. Now. I need to talk to her now. Tyler moved aside to let me pass. I took the stairs 2 at a time, muscle memory guiding me to Vanessa's old bedroom at the end of the hall. The door was closed. I knocked once and opened it without waiting for permission. Vanessa sat on her childhood bed, still in her rehearsal dinner outfit, laptop open, phone pressed to her ear. She looked up when I entered, and something flickered across her face. Relief? Fear? I couldn't tell. I'll call you back, she said into the phone and hung up. We stared at each other across the room we'd shared a wall with growing up, where we'd stayed up late talking about boys and college and what our lives would look like. Where we'd been sisters before we'd become strangers. You came, she said finally. Of course I came. He hit Mom. It's not what it looked like. Vanessa, the whole world saw what it looked like. You don't understand the pressure he's under. The wedding planning has been stressful. His work has been intense. He's not normally like that. I sat down on the edge of the bed, keeping distance between us. Listen to yourself. You're making excuses for a man who slapped our mother in a crowded restaurant because she told an embarrassing childhood story about you. It wasn't embarrassing. It was infantilizing. He was defending me. By hitting a 62-year-old woman? Vanessa's composure cracked slightly. He's apologized. He sent flowers. He's devastated by his own behavior. People make mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting to text back or leaving the milk out. Violence isn't a mistake. It's a choice. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? Her voice turned sharp. Waiting for Marcus to prove you right so you could swoop in and say, I told you so. Is that really what you think? that I wanted this to happen? You've hated him from the beginning. You've made my relationship hell for months because you couldn't stand that I found someone when you're still alone. The words hit like physical blows. I absorbed them, recognizing the script. These weren't Vanessa's thoughts, they were Marcus's words in her voice. I'm alone because I haven't found someone worth compromising myself for, I said quietly. But you're about to marry a man who will hit your mother at a rehearsal dinner surrounded by witnesses. What happens when there are no witnesses, Vanessa? What happens when it's just you and him and you say something he doesn't like? He would never hurt me. He hurt Mom. That was different. How? How was that different? She couldn't answer. She looked down at her laptop, at whatever statement she'd been drafting with Marcus's sister, and I saw tears drop onto the keyboard. I love him, she whispered. I love him, and the wedding is tomorrow, and 200 people are expecting to celebrate with us, and I can't just throw it all away because of one bad moment. One bad moment that the entire internet has witnessed. Vanessa, his own behavior has already thrown this away. You're just deciding whether to get buried in the rubble with him. Get out. Her voice went flat. Get out of my room, Nessa. I said, get out. You got what you wanted. Everyone knows you were right about Marcus. You win, Eliana. Now leave me alone. I stood slowly. At the door, I turned back. I didn't want to win. I wanted you to be safe and happy. Those things aren't mutually exclusive unless you're with someone who makes them incompatible. She didn't respond. I left her, there, surrounded by boxes of wedding favors and a laptop full of damage control lies, and went back downstairs to where my parents waited with identical expressions of exhausted grief. She's going through with it, I told them. Mom closed her eyes. Dad looked away. Then, we have a decision to make, Dad said. Do we attend and tacitly approve, or do we refuse and risk losing her completely? Tyler shook his head. There's no good choice here. Either option destroys something. We sat in that kitchen until the sky started lightening outside. 4 members of a 5-person family trying to figure out how to save someone determined not to be saved. By dawn, the video had 12 million views, and Marcus Donnelly was trending nationwide. By 8 a.m., the wedding was still scheduled for 4 p.m. that afternoon, and I still didn't have an invitation. I went home at 6 a.m. and didn't sleep. Instead, I sat on my balcony watching Portland wake up, scrolling through the endless cascade of commentary about a family crisis that had become entertainment for millions. Think pieces appeared on news sites. Relationship experts weighed in on morning shows. Someone started a Change.org petition demanding Marcus be fired from his real estate firm. The wedding was in 10 hours. Rachel showed up at 9 with coffee and bagels, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. You look like hell, she said, handing me a latte. I feel like hell. What's the plan? There is no plan. Vanessa's going through with it. My parents are debating whether to show up. Tyler's in the wedding party, so he has to be there. And I'm still not invited to watch my sister make the worst decision of her life. Rachel sat down across from me, her expression serious. The videos are everywhere, Ellie. People have identified the venue. There are protesters planning to show up. Protesters? The domestic violence advocacy groups picked this up overnight. They're organizing a presence at the Holloway estate. Not to disrupt, they say, just to stand witness and show solidarity with your mom. I dropped my head into my hands. This is a nightmare. It's a reckoning. Marcus thought he could control the narrative, control Vanessa, control your whole family. But he hit someone in public, and someone filmed it. Now the truth is out there, and he can't charm his way past it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then thought it might be important. Is this Eliana Robinson's? A woman's voice, professional and warm. Yes? My name is Patricia Chen. I'm a producer for Pacific Northwest Today. We'd love to have you this morning to discuss the viral video of your mother and provide your perspective on your sister's upcoming wedding. How did you get this number? Public records. Look, I understand this is sensitive, but the story is already out there. Don't you want to control your own narrative? No comment. I hung up. The phone rang. Again, immediately. Different numbers. I declined the call. Then another. And another. By 9:30, I'd received 11 calls from various media outlets, 4 from podcast hosts, and 1 from someone claiming to be a literary agent interested in my story rights. I turned off my phone. "You should go," Rachel said. "To the wedding?" "Yes. Invitation or not. She's your sister. She told me she doesn't want me there. She's not thinking clearly. Marcus has manipulated her into isolating herself from anyone who might help her see the truth. But somewhere inside, she knows. She knows you were right. She knows she's making a terrible mistake. And when this all falls apart, and it will fall apart, she's going to need you. What if security throws me out? Then they throw you out. But at least you tried. At least she'll know you showed up for her even when she pushed you away." I thought about Vanessa upstairs in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by the architecture of Marcus's lies, convinced she was in love with a man who'd shown his true nature to millions of strangers. "If I go alone," I said. "I'm not dragging you into this circus." "Too late. I'm your +1 whether you like it or not." We spent the next 2 hours planning. Rachel went to her apartment and came back with a simple navy dress appropriate for a wedding. I showered, did my makeup, and tried to look like someone who belonged at an elegant spring ceremony rather than someone who'd been awake for 30 hours processing trauma. At 2 p.m., we got in Rachel's car and drove toward the Holloway estate. The venue sat on 20 acres of manicured grounds overlooking the Willamette River, a restored 1,920 mansion that hosted Portland's most exclusive events. As we turned down the long driveway, I saw what Rachel had warned me about. Protesters lined both sides of the entrance. Maybe 40 people holding signs, "Love shouldn't hurt," "Cancel the wedding," "Vanessa, we stand with you." Local news vans clustered in the parking area. A police presence kept everyone orderly, but the atmosphere crackled with tension. "This is insane," I breathed. "This is what happens when private violence becomes public knowledge." We parked in the guest lot and walked toward the main entrance. A security guard stopped us at the door. "Names, please." "Eliana Robinson's, and guests." He consulted his tablet, scrolling through the list. "I don't see you here. I'm the bride's sister." His expression shifted to recognition and something like pity. "Ma'am, I have specific instructions that you're not on the approved guest list." "From who? My sister or her fiancé?" "I can't disclose that information." Rachel stepped forward. "So the bride's own sister can't attend while strangers with cameras are allowed in?" "Those are credentialed media." The couple wanted documentation of the event despite the circumstances. Of course, Marcus wanted cameras. He was still trying to control the narrative, to create his own version of events that would override the viral video. "Look," he'd say. "See how beautiful the wedding was? See how happy everyone looked? That other thing was just a misunderstanding." "Please," I said quietly. "I'm not here to cause problems. I just want to see my sister get married." The guard's expression softened, but his position didn't change. "I'm sorry. I really am. But if I let you in, I would lose my job." We stood there in an impasse when Tyler appeared from inside, sharp in his groomsman tuxedo. "She's with me," he told the guard. "Family of the bride. There must have been a mistake with the list." "Sir, I have very clear instructions, and I'm overriding them. She's our sister." "This is ridiculous." The guard looked between us, clearly calculating his options. Finally, he stepped aside. "If there's any issue, I didn't see you come in." Tyler led us through the mansion's grand entrance, past antique furniture and massive, floral arrangements that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The ceremony would take place outside on the lawn, overlooking the river. Guests mingled on the terrace, drinks in hand, carefully not discussing the obvious tension underneath the polite conversation. I saw Marcus's parents holding court near the bar, his mother elegant in pale blue, his father commanding in a dark suit. They were doing damage control in real time, I realized, working the crowd to remind everyone that their son was successful, charming, under so much stress with the wedding planning. "Where's Mom and Dad?" I asked Tyler. "Getting ready in one of the side rooms. Mom's makeup artist is working overtime to cover the bruising." The casual mention of covering bruises at a wedding made my stomach turn. "And Vanessa?" "Bridal suite upstairs. Her bridesmaids are with her. Ellie. She looks like a ghost. I don't think she slept at all. Has Marcus shown up?" He's in the groom's ready room, acting like nothing happened, laughing with his groomsmen, taking shots of whiskey, completely unbothered. Rachel muttered something uncomplimentary under her breath. We found seats in the back row, partially hidden behind a decorative column. The ceremony would start in 40 minutes. Guests continued to arrive, a steady stream of people dressed for celebration but wearing expressions of morbid curiosity. Half of them were probably here just to witness the spectacle firsthand. At 3:30, a string quartet started playing. The wedding coordinator began directing people to their seats. I watched my parents emerge from a side entrance, my father's arm around my mother's shoulders, her face carefully made up but the tension visible in every line of her body. They saw me. Mom's hand went to her mouth. Dad's expression cracked with relief. They changed course and headed toward us. Ellie, Mom hugged me hard enough to hurt. You came. Did you think I wouldn't? I hoped, but I would have understood if you stayed away. We sat together, our broken family taking up the back row, and watched the rest of the guests file in. The string quartet played Bach. The sun shone brilliantly. Everything looked perfect, except for the fundamental wrongness at the center of it all. At 3:55, the music shifted to the processional. The bridesmaids started down the aisle, women I vaguely recognized from Vanessa's work, all wearing dusty rose dresses and forced smiles. Then the bridal march began. Everyone stood. Everyone turned toward the main house, and Vanessa appeared. She looked stunning. Her dress was a masterpiece of lace and silk, her hair styled in soft waves, her makeup flawless. She looked like every bride's fantasy of their wedding day. She also looked absolutely terrified. My father stood ready to walk her down the aisle, offering his arm. Vanessa took it, but her hand shook visibly even from where I stood. They started the long walk across the lawn, toward where Marcus waited at the altar, his groomsmen beside him, the officiant holding a leather-bound ceremony script. Halfway down the aisle, Vanessa's steps faltered. My father leaned down, whispering something to her. She shook her head. They took another step, then another. 10 feet from the altar, she stopped completely. Marcus's smile tightened. The officiant looked concerned. The guests began to murmur. Vanessa stood frozen, her bouquet trembling in her hands, staring at the man she was about to marry. And in that moment, I saw her really look at him. Not through the lens of love or hope or denial. Just see him for exactly who he was. Marcus reached out his hand to her, that same hand that had struck our mother less than 24 hours ago. And Vanessa flinched. It was small, barely perceptible, but everyone saw it. The murmuring grew louder. Vanessa? Marcus's voice carried across the suddenly silent lawn. Come on, baby, it's okay. But nothing was okay. And finally, devastatingly, my sister knew it. Vanessa dropped her bouquet. White roses and peonies scattered across the perfectly manicured grass. The sound of flowers hitting the ground somehow carried across the entire lawn, punctuating the silence that had fallen over 192 guests. I can't, she said. Her voice came out small, almost childlike. Marcus's hand was still extended toward her. What? I can't do this. Vanessa, everyone's watching. Let's just get through the ceremony and we can talk after. No. Louder now. No. I can't marry you. The words hung in the spring air like a held breath. Marcus's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, anger. He took a step toward her. My father moved between them. It wasn't dramatic or aggressive, just a simple repositioning that put his body as a barrier between Marcus and his daughter. Dad was 64 years old, a retired accountant who did crossword puzzles and tended tomato plants. But at that moment, he looked like he would physically fight anyone who tried to reach Vanessa. You need to step back, Dad said quietly. This is insane. Marcus addressed the crowd as much as my father. She's having cold feet. This happens. Someone get her some water. Give us a minute. She said no. Mom's voice cut across his. She had moved up from her seat and now stood beside Dad. The makeup couldn't fully hide the purple bruise spreading across her cheekbone. My daughter said no. That's the end of it. Marcus's composure finally cracked. After everything? After all the planning and money and this entire production? You're going to humiliate me in front of everyone because of one mistake? You hit my mother, Vanessa said. Her voice steadied with each word. You hit her because she told a story about me you didn't like. You hit her in public. And if you'd do that in public, what would you do in private? I apologized. I sent flowers. I've been trying to make this right. You can't make violence right with flowers. I recognized my own words in Vanessa's mouth, and something inside me unlocked. She'd heard me. Through all the denial and manipulation, some part of her had been listening. Marcus's mother stood up from her seat in the front row. Vanessa, dear, you're under tremendous stress. Everyone understands. Why don't we postpone the ceremony for a few hours? Let you rest. Mrs. Donnelly, I appreciate everything you and your husband have contributed to this wedding. But I'm not going to marry your son today or any other day. You're making a terrible mistake, Marcus's father said, his voice hard. We've invested a considerable amount. Send me a bill, my father interrupted. We'll figure out who owes what. But right now, this is over. Marcus stared at Vanessa, and for a moment I saw something raw cross his face. Not love or heartbreak, but rage at losing control of the narrative he'd constructed. You'll regret this, he said. When the attention dies down and reality sets in, you'll realize you threw away the best thing that ever happened to you. The best thing that ever happened to me, Vanessa said clearly, was having a sister who loved me enough to tell me the truth even when I didn't want to hear it. She turned and looked directly at me for the first time since I'd arrived. Her makeup was running, black mascara tracking down her cheeks. She looked nothing like the perfect bride from 10 minutes ago, and everything like my sister. I moved without thinking, walking down the aisle toward her. Guests shifted in their seats, craning to watch. The string quartet had stopped playing. Even the catering staff had paused mid-setup to witness what was happening. I reached Vanessa and she collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Her elaborate updo came loose against my shoulder. Her expensive dress pressed against my simple navy one. I'm sorry, she kept saying. I'm so sorry. You were right. You were right. And I wouldn't listen. It doesn't matter now, I told her. You're safe. That's all that matters. Tyler appeared beside us, removing his boutonniere and tossing it into the grass. I'm with my sisters, he announced to no one in particular. Groomsman position officially resigned. Marcus made one more attempt. Vanessa, please. We can work through this. Couples therapy. Whatever you need. Don't let one bad moment destroy everything we've built. She pulled back from my arms just enough to face him. It wasn't one bad moment. It was dozens of small moments I ignored. Every time you correct me in front of people. Every time you made decisions about my life without asking me. Every time you isolated me from people who cared about me. I just didn't want to see it until you hit my mother, and I couldn't unsee it anymore. I never hurt you. You diminished me every single day. That's a different kind of hurt. Marcus's jaw tightened. He looked at his parents, his groomsmen, the guests bearing witness to his rejection. Then he turned and walked back toward the mansion without another word. His groomsmen followed. His parents gathered their belongings with tight-lipped fury. The officiant cleared his throat. I suppose the ceremony is concluded. I'll just leave you folks to it. Slowly, the spell broke. Guests began to stand, some heading for the parking lot, others approaching us with awkward condolences or support. The wedding coordinator appeared, pale and stressed, asking what we wanted to do about the reception space and the catered dinner for 200. Feed the protesters, Mom suggested. And anyone else who's hungry. No point wasting perfectly good food. That's how my sister's non-wedding turned into an impromptu celebration of her escape. The coordinator, bless her adaptable soul, redirected everything. The bar opened. The food came out. Someone changed the music from elegant classical to upbeat contemporary. Word spread quickly to the protesters outside. The advocacy groups were invited in, thrilled and slightly confused by the turn of events. They'd come prepared to stand witness against violence and instead walked into what was rapidly becoming a party. The media tried to get in for interviews, but the security guard who'd initially blocked me now blocked them with considerably more enthusiasm. Private event? He said firmly. Invitation only. Rachel found me an hour later on the terrace, watching the sunset paint the river in shades of gold and amber. The estate grounds had transformed from wedding venue to something stranger and more genuine. People scattered across the lawn in clusters, eating salmon and drinking wine. laughing at the absurdity of it all. Your sister's fielding offers from every news outlet in the country, Rachel said, handing me champagne. She's declining them all. Good. The video hit 20 million views. Marcus deleted all his social media accounts. His company put him on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Also good. And someone set up a GoFundMe to cover the wedding costs. It's already $40,000. I turned to look at her. Seriously? People connected with this story. They're sending money and messages of support. Half of them share their own experiences with partners who seemed perfect until they weren't. Vanessa found us as the sky deepened to purple. She'd changed out of her wedding dress into jeans and a sweater someone had brought from her apartment. Without the makeup and elaborate styling, she looked younger, more like the sister I remembered from before Marcus. The wedding coordinator wants to know what to do with the gifts, she said. There's probably $30,000 worth of stuff in there. Return it all, I suggested. Fresh start. She nodded, then sat down beside me on the terrace wall. We dangled our legs over the edge like we used to do as kids sitting on the dock at our Waterley, grandparents' lake house. I should have listened to you, she said after a moment. That day at lunch when you tried to warn me. I should have heard what you were really saying. You weren't ready to hear it. Sometimes people have to come to the truth on their own. It's going to be everywhere, isn't it? The runaway bride who left her abusive fiancé at the altar. My worst moment turned into content. Your bravest moment, I corrected. You could have gone through with it. You could have let the pressure and the audience and the sunk costs push you into a marriage you knew was wrong. Instead, you trusted yourself enough to walk away. Vanessa leaned her head on my shoulder. What happens now? Now we figure out how to be sisters again. And you start building a life that's actually yours, instead of one someone else designed for you. I don't even know what that looks like anymore. That's okay. We'll figure it out together. Below us, the party continued. Our parents danced to a song that definitely wasn't on the original wedding playlist. Tyler attempted to teach one of the domestic violence advocates how to do the electric slide. The setting was ridiculous, the circumstances bizarre, but the feeling underneath it all was real. Relief, liberation, hope. Vanessa had walked away from the altar and toward herself. Everything else was just details to sort out later. Ellie? Vanessa said quietly. Yeah? Thank you for showing up. Even when I told you not to. That's what sisters do. We show up. Especially when it's hard. The last light faded from the sky and someone turned on the string lights that had been meant to illuminate a romantic reception. Instead, they lit up something better. A celebration of choosing yourself over a beautiful lie. And in the background, if you listened carefully, you could hear the sound of 200 people who'd come expecting a wedding and instead witnessed something more valuable. Someone finding the taking, courage to say no to the wrong thing so they could eventually say yes to the right one. The viral video would eventually fade from the internet's attention. The story would become a cautionary tale, then a footnote, then a memory. But for Vanessa, for our family, this was the beginning of something new, messy and uncertain and real. And we'd face it together, the way families should. The week after the non-wedding felt like living in a surreal, alternate reality. Vanessa moved back into our parents' house temporarily, her condo lease still having 2 months before it expired, but every corner of that space was saturated with Marcus's presence. She'd wake up at 3 a.m. and find me already awake in the kitchen, both of us drinking tea and not talking about the fact that we couldn't sleep. The story refused to die down. News cycles typically moved fast, but something about this particular narrative captured people's attention. A bride walking away at the altar, a viral video of violence, a family fractured and then healed. It had all the elements of a dramatic screenplay, except it was our actual lives. On Tuesday, Marcus's employer released a statement. After thorough investigation, they terminated his employment effective immediately. The real estate firm couldn't afford the liability of keeping someone whose face had become synonymous with public violence. His professional reputation, so carefully cultivated, had disintegrated in less than a week. Vanessa showed me the statement on her phone. We sat in the backyard of our parents' house, where we'd played as children, where we'd learned to ride bikes and caught fireflies in mason jars. "Do you feel bad for him?" she asked. I considered the question carefully. I feel bad that anyone's life can implode that completely. But he created this situation. He chose to hit Mom in a room full of people. The consequences are his responsibility. His mother keeps calling me, leaving voicemails about how I've ruined her son's life. Block her number. I did. Then she started emailing. She wants me to release a statement saying the video was taken out of context, that I was pressured by my family to cancel the wedding. The audacity of it made my blood pressure spike. Tell me you're not considering that. Of course not. But it's exhausting, you know? The constant attempts to rewrite what happened. To make me the villain instead of the victim who got away. Our mother appeared on the back porch carrying a tray with sandwiches and lemonade. The bruise on her face had faded to a yellowish green, still visible but healing. She'd returned to work at the library, where she'd been a head librarian for 15 years, enduring the stares and whispered sympathies of patrons who'd seen the video. "Lunch," she announced, setting the tray on the patio table. "And before you say you're not hungry, both of you need to eat something besides tea and anxiety." Vanessa smiled weakly. "Thanks, Mom. How are you holding up, sweetheart?" "I'm okay. Mostly. I have moments where I can't believe I almost married him, and other moments where I can't believe I had the courage to walk away." Mom sat down with us, smoothing her skirt. "Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite the fear. You were terrified up there at that altar, but you still did the right thing. Were you scared?" Vanessa asked. "When did he hit you?" The question hung heavy. Mom took a moment before answering. "In the moment, I was shocked, more than scared. It happened so fast, I didn't have time to be frightened. But afterward, when I realized what it meant about who he really was, yes. I was terrified thinking about you being alone with him someday, with no witnesses, no cameras, no one to intervene. I keep replaying everything," Vanessa said quietly. "Every red flag I ignored, every time Ellie tried to warn me and I shut her down, every moment I chose him over my own family. Don't do that to yourself," I said. "Manipulation is insidious. That's what makes it effective. If abusers announced their intentions up front, nobody would get involved with them." Tyler joined us, coming through the back gate still in his UW hoodie from morning classes. He grabbed a sandwich without asking and sprawled in a patio chair. "The guys from the bachelor party won't stop texting me," he said through a mouthful of turkey and Swiss. "They want to know if Vanessa's okay, if the family's pressing charges, if Marcus has contacted her. Tell them she's fine, and to mind their own business," Mom said primly. I did. More politely than that, but same message. He looked at Vanessa. "Some of them are actually decent guys. They're pissed at Marcus. Said they never really liked him but felt like they had to go along with the friend group dynamic. That's the thing about people like Marcus," Vanessa said. "They're so good at presenting one version of themselves while hiding who they really are. Even people who spent time with him couldn't see it clearly." My phone buzzed. A text from my principal. "Teacher's Lounge is asking about you. Want me to tell them anything specific?" I'd taken the week off after the wedding disaster, using personal days I'd been saving. My classroom felt like a sanctuary from all this chaos, but I wasn't ready to face the inevitable questions and uncomfortable sympathy. "Work?" Rachel guessed when she stopped by that evening with Thai food and wine. "Everyone wants to know the details. I'm internet famous by association, and I hate it. Give it another week. The algorithm will find something new to obsess over. Someone's divorce or someone's scandal. The attention span of social media is mercifully short. Tell that to the 3 producers who called me today wanting to option the story for a limited series." Rachel's eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Dead serious. One of them said they saw this as a prestige drama for a streaming service. Apparently our family trauma has excellent commercial potential." "What did you tell them?" "That this isn't entertainment. These are our actual lives, and we're not interested in turning our worst moments into content for profit." Vanessa emerged from the house where she'd been napping. Sleep had become her escape lately, the only time her brain stopped processing everything that had happened. "I heard producers," she said, pouring herself wine. "They contacted me too. One offered $200,000 for the exclusive rights to my story." "That's a lot of money," Rachel observed neutrally. "It's blood money. I'm not profiting off Mom getting hit or my relationship being exposed as abusive. Some things shouldn't be for sale. We sat on the back porch as evening settled in, cicadas starting their nightly chorus. Dad came home from the hardware store where he'd been pricing materials for a deck renovation project. His way of coping was staying busy, finding productive projects that had clear beginnings and endings, unlike the messy emotional work we were all navigating. The GoFundMe is up to $97,000, he announced, checking his phone. People are still donating. That's insane, Vanessa said. We didn't ask for that. Someone named Christina started it. Said she left her own abusive relationship after seeing your story and wanted to help cover the wedding costs you shouldn't have to pay. The money kept coming from strangers who saw themselves in our story, who'd lived their own versions of what Vanessa escaped. Each donation came with messages. Thank you for showing me it's never too late to walk away. My daughter is in a relationship like this. Your courage gives me hope she'll find hers. I wish I'd been as brave as you. We should donate it, Vanessa decided, to domestic violence organizations. Split it among the groups that showed up to protest. They do this work every day for people who don't have viral videos bringing attention to their situations. Mom nodded approvingly. That's a beautiful idea. The next morning, Vanessa and I drove to her condo to pack up her belongings. She'd been avoiding it, but the lease was ending and she needed to reclaim her things before Marcus could make any claims on shared property. The doorman recognized us immediately. Miss Robinson's. I'm glad you're safe. That man, Mr. Donnelly, came by Tuesday trying to get into your unit. I told him I couldn't allow it without your explicit permission. Thank you, Vanessa said. I appreciate you protecting my space. He didn't take it well. Made some threats about lawyers and property rights. But your name is on the lease, not his, so legally he's got no standing. Inside the condo, evidence of Marcus existed everywhere. His expensive coffee maker on the counter, his workout equipment in the corner, his toiletries in the bathroom. The framed photo of them from Napa Valley is still hanging on the wall. Vanessa stood in the middle of the living room looking lost. Where do we even start? She asked. His stuff or yours? Hi. I want it gone first. We spent 3 hours boxing up everything Marcus had left behind. Clothes, shoes, electronics, books, the pretentious wine collection he'd been so proud of. Every item went into boxes we stacked by the door. Vanessa called his parents and told them they had 48 hours to collect his belongings or she'd donate them. His mother tried one more manipulation. You're being vindictive. This isn't the mature way to handle. Your son hit my mother, Vanessa interrupted. There is no mature way to handle that except for me to remove him from my life completely. Come get his things, or don't. I don't particularly care which. She hung up and we high-fived like we were 12 years old celebrating a victory in some childhood competition. By evening, the condo looked different. Emptier, but also lighter. Vanessa could breathe in the space without Marcus's presence suffocating every corner. We ordered pizza and sat on her living room floor, surrounded by boxes of her own belongings that would move to a new apartment she hadn't found yet. I need to figure out who I am without him, she said, picking pepperoni off her slice. I spent so much energy becoming the person he wanted me to be, I forgot who I actually was. So, take time to remember. There's no rush. People keep asking when I'll start dating again, like that's the solution. Replace one relationship with another. People are idiots. You don't need to date anyone. You need to date yourself first. Figure out what you like, what you want, who you are when nobody's watching. She smiled for the first time that day. That's very therapy speak of you. I've been reading a lot since all this happened. Trying to understand the psychology of abusive relationships, why people stay, how they get out. And what have you learned? That leaving is the dangerous part. That the first few weeks and months after someone escapes are when they're most vulnerable to going back. That the abuser will try everything to regain control, love bombing and threats and manipulation. Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went pale. It's Marcus. Block him. I did. He's texting from a different number. She showed me the screen. I miss you. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. Nobody will ever love you the way I do. Please just talk to me. Classic abuser pattern. The apology, the promise to change, the claim that their twisted version of love was somehow special. Delete it, I said. And block that number too. He's going to keep trying, isn't he? Probably. Until he finds someone new to control or gets bored or realizes you're actually gone for good. Vanessa deleted the message and blocked the number. Then she blocked his email, his social media accounts, every avenue he might use to reach her. I'm not going back, she said firmly, as much to herself as to me. Whatever he tries, whatever he says, I'm not going back. Good. Because you deserve so much better than someone who made you feel small. We finished packing that night and drove back to our parents' house under stars that seemed impossibly bright. The future was uncertain, full of legal complications and emotional healing and the slow work of rebuilding a life. But Vanessa was free. She was safe. She was choosing herself. And sometimes, that's the only victory that matters. 6 months after the wedding that never happened, I stood in Vanessa's new apartment helping her hang curtains. She'd found a place in the Pearl District, a sunny one-bedroom with exposed brick and windows that overlooked a small park. It was entirely hers, no shared memories with Marcus, no ghosts lurking in corners. Higher on the left, she directed from the floor where she was assembling a bookshelf. I adjusted the curtain rod. How's this? Perfect. The apartment slowly filled with furniture she'd chosen herself. Not expensive designer pieces meant to impress visitors, but comfortable items that felt like her. A worn leather reading chair from an estate sale. Colorful throw pillows from a local artisan market. Plants everywhere. Something she'd never had with Marcus because he claimed they made spaces look cluttered. Her therapy sessions had been twice weekly at first, then once a week as she stabilized. She'd joined a support group for survivors of emotional abuse. She'd started painting again, something she'd loved in college but abandoned because Marcus said it was childish to pursue hobbies that didn't generate income. The viral video had largely faded from public consciousness, replaced by newer scandals and fresher content. We still got occasional messages from people who'd found the story and wanted to share their own experiences. Vanessa responded to some, ignored others, learning to set boundaries around her emotional energy. Marcus had moved to Seattle, according to Tyler's sources, and found work at a smaller real estate firm willing to overlook his history. He'd attempted contact twice more, first through a long email apologizing and asking for closure, then through a mutual acquaintance who suggested they clear the air over coffee. Vanessa declined both without hesitation. He posted something on LinkedIn, Vanessa mentioned casually, scrolling her phone during a break from furniture assembly. About learning from mistakes and becoming a better man through adversity? Let me guess, no mention of what those mistakes actually were? Just vague corporate speak about personal growth and second chances. The comments are half people supporting his comeback story, half people reminding everyone why he lost his job in the first place. How does it feel seeing him try to rehabilitate his image? She considered the question. Honestly, I mostly feel nothing. Maybe a little sad that he'll probably convince some other woman that he's changed. But I can't control that. I can only control my own choices. The growth in her over 6 months was remarkable. The woman who'd almost married Marcus to avoid disappointing people had become someone who prioritized her own well-being without apology. She'd started a new job at a nonprofit supporting domestic violence survivors, using her experience to help others navigate similar situations. Mom and Dad threw a housewarming dinner that evening. Tyler showed up with his new girlfriend, a pre-med student he'd met at a study group. Rachel came with her husband. It was casual and warm, people crammed into Vanessa's small space eating takeout and laughing about nothing in particular. Remember when we thought we'd need to rent that massive reception hall? Mom said, gesturing around the apartment. And now we're all perfectly happy squished together in a one-bedroom. This is better, Vanessa said. That other thing was about impressing people. This is about actually being with people I love. Dad raised his beer. To Vanessa, for having the courage to choose happiness over appearances. We toasted. The bruise on Mom's face had long since healed, leaving no visible trace except in our collective memory. She'd gone back to normal life at the library, though she'd become something of a local hero among the staff and patrons who'd followed the story. People sought her advice about their own difficult relationships, turning the worst moment of her life into unexpected opportunities to help others. After dinner, I found myself on Vanessa's small balcony with Tyler. The Portland skyline glittered in the distance, City lights competing with stars. Have you ever thought about how close it came? Tyler asked. If that person hadn't filmed it, if the video hadn't gone viral, Vanessa probably would have married him. I think about it constantly. How many people are in relationships right now with someone like Marcus, but there's no video, no public accountability, just private suffering? Makes you realize how much luck is involved in getting out. It's not just luck, though. Vanessa still had to make the choice. Even with the video, even with the evidence, she could have gone through with it. Plenty of people do. Tyler nodded slowly. True. She chose herself. That's not luck. That's strength. Inside, I heard Vanessa laughing at something Rachel said, the sound genuine and unforced. The laugh of someone who'd survived and was learning to thrive. My classroom had become a different kind of sanctuary after I returned to work. My students, with their fourth-grade problems and enthusiasm, reminded me daily that most people move through the world without viral fame or public drama. They cared about playground politics and spelling tests, and whether we'd have indoor or outdoor recess. Zoe, the girl who'd noticed my sadness months ago, asked one day if my family stuff had gotten better. Much better, I told her. Thank you for asking. Good. You smile real now. Out of the mouths of children. The money from the GoFundMe had been distributed to 5 different domestic violence organizations, $97,000 split among groups doing critical work with minimal resources. Each organization sent thank you notes. One invited Vanessa to speak at their annual fundraiser. She'd declined initially, not ready to be the public face of surviving abuse, but later reconsidered. Maybe her story could help, she reasoned. Maybe being willing to speak honestly about what happened could give someone else permission to leave their own Marcus. 3 months ago, she gave her first talk. 20 people in a community center, most of them women rebuilding their lives after leaving dangerous situations. She'd been terrified, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her notes. But once she started speaking, the words flowed. She told the truth about manipulation, about isolation, about the insidious way control creeps into a relationship disguised as love. Afterwards, a woman in her 50s approached Vanessa with tears streaming down her face. I've been making excuses for my husband for 30 years, she said. Hearing you describe what you went through, it was like you were describing my life. I'm leaving him. This week, I'm actually doing it. Vanessa came home from that event transformed. She'd found purpose in her pain, meaning in the mess. Now, as autumn approached Portland with its characteristic drizzle and falling leaves, our family had settled into a new normal. Sunday dinners at our parents' house. Regular text chains full of memes and questions and casual affection. Tyler's girlfriend becomes part of the fold. Vanessa's apartment served as a gathering place for the people who mattered. The story of the viral video and the canceled wedding became something we could reference without flinching. Not something we were proud of exactly, but something we'd survived together. The crucible that had revealed who we really were to each other. I'd worried that being right about Marcus would create distance between Vanessa and me, that she'd resent me for seeing what she couldn't. Instead, it brought us closer. She trusted my judgment now in ways she hadn't before, and I'd learned that sometimes being right isn't as important as being present when someone finally sees the truth for themselves. One evening in late October, Vanessa called me after I'd finished grading papers. I went on a date, she announced. Oh? How was it? Weird. Good, weird, but weird. I kept waiting for red flags, analyzing everything he said for hidden meanings. He probably thought I was insane. That's normal. You're recalibrating your radar. He asked if I wanted to see him again. I said yes, but that I'm taking things really slow. He said he respected that and would follow my pace. Sounds promising. It is. Or maybe it's not. I don't know yet. But I'm learning to trust my instincts again, and my instincts say he's at least worth a second date. Then that's enough for now. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in my small apartment thinking about healing and time and the way trauma reshapes families. We weren't the same Robinson's family we'd been a year ago. We'd been broken and reassembled, pieces put back together in slightly different configurations, but we were stronger for it, more honest, more willing to have difficult conversations and trust uncomfortable truths. The viral video would always exist somewhere in the internet's vast archives, a 15-second clip of violence that changed everything. But it didn't define us. It was just the catalyst that forced us to choose between comfortable lies and painful honesty. We chose honesty. We chose each other. We chose to believe that families could survive being broken if everyone was willing to do the work of healing. Looking back, I understood that my exclusion from the wedding was never really about me. It was about Marcus isolating Vanessa from anyone who might interfere with his control. Being banned hurt at the time, but it also meant I was outside his sphere of influence, free to see clearly what others couldn't. Sometimes being pushed away is the position that lets you help best when someone's finally ready to be helped. The lesson I took from all of it, the one I'd carry forward, was simple. Love means telling the truth, even when the truth is unwelcome. Love means showing up even when you're told to stay away. Love means believing that people can find their way back to themselves, even when they've wandered far into someone else's version of who they should be. Vanessa had found her way back. Our family had found its way forward. And the story that began with exclusion and viral violence ended with reconnection and quiet strength. Not the fairy tale ending, just the real one. And real was always better than perfect. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.